You're listening to Atlanta Baseball Talk, your weekly podcast for all things Atlanta Braves.
Welcome to show number 278. Today is Sunday, September 7th, 2014, and my name is Steve. I am joined by both Hamilton and Curtis, and guys, let's do it. So in tonight's show, we'll look at the season's, we'll look at some ex-Braves from this season, as well as have our check-in on shots in the dark. But first, guys, it's all about the stretch run. So the Braves are not off to a great start in September. 2-4 this week.
How so?
A woeful Phillies team, and the Marlins, who we also lost this season series against. So, guys, the Braves have 19 games left in the season. As of tonight, we're recording Sunday night, they're a half game out of that second wild card spot, tied with the Brewers. The Pirates now have that second spot. They're 7 games back of the Nats, headed to Washington tomorrow for 3 of their remaining 6 games with the Nationals. So, Ham, you are Fredi Gonzalez.
And you're a pile of... No, whatever.
Oh,
yes, I'm listening.
If we're just throwing insults. What levers are you adjusting? What changes are you making? What are you doing to help guarantee, in quotes, as many wins as possible down this final stretch?
Well, the levers, the levers you have as a manager, and at some point you just have to hope the players will perform, which the players have not really performed on a lot of levels. But for him, you can think about who do you put in the game, where do you put them, where do you put them in the lineup, when do you bring them in, and then once the game is going on, how are you managing the game? And I think we all know that Fredi does not excel in that last category of just in-game management, but he's going to stick stuff, by the book and make some blunders. So I can't imagine to try to get into his head there. But I think for the other ones, I think the who you play is a big conversation. And I think he's just making a lot of bad decisions lately.
It's really his best and biggest lever, don't you think?
I think it is. The lineup, I mean, who's in the lineup and where you slot them. But the who's in the lineup is the biggest thing.
The starting 8 is what I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's some pitching stuff that we could talk about later, too, about, our rotation as it stands. But for me, I mean, obviously, the biggest question is why is BJ in the lineup? For me, I think it's Bonifacio over BJ. I don't care. It would be Kurt over BJ at this point for me. And Kurt's got some range. And a good first step.
Are we still doing the insults? That didn't sound very encouraging at all.
That was neither an insult nor a compliment. For me, I would go Gosselin over Chris Johnson now. Chris Johnson just seems like he eats men left on base for breakfast. I mean, he's like his stat he's going for.
So you want La Stella in every day. You want La Stella and Gosselin in every day.
I do. I think that I know La Stella has struggled mightily, and he played 4 games this week. But Chris Johnson has too. So I would take La Stella over there. I just think that I still feel like he's got good fundamentals to pick that up. And Chris Johnson, he's no better. I guess for me, he's also just no better. I have little faith in both of them and maybe just slightly less faith in La Stella, or whichever one makes La Stella better. So I go with the lineup. Fredi's got to – this is a sprint. He cannot take a game off. He cannot – this is the final lap of one of those long track races. He's got to pick something, stick with it, and stop screwing around and being cute. And so I think his lineup every day should be Hayward, Gosselin, Freeman, Upton, Gaddis, La Stella, Bonifacio, Simmons. And then your pitcher. I think he should do that lineup a lot more than any other lineup. I mean, maybe bringing in Betancourt, maybe Chris Johnson here and there, but I think that should be his lineup. And I think Fredi's just got to buckle down, stick with it, and act like this is the playoffs. I mean, it is if we want to get to the wild card.
Yeah. So I take issue with the Chris Johnson thing. I'm not saying he's been good. He's really been pretty awful. But La Stella's been really bad. I mean, since August 1st, it's 106 plate appearances. He's 177 batting average, 248 on base, 240 slugging. So I think that, while of course I agree with you on BJ, my God, BJ should not start another game. He should just be a pinch runner in the bottom of the 8th. Johnson can come through. Right. I mean, I think that we are better off with Johnson and Gosselin than Gosselin and LaStella for the rest of the season. But otherwise, I'm with you, man. A lot of Gaddis. Fredi came out and said he's going to be playing Gaddis almost every day the rest of the way. But bury Chris Johnson lower in the order because it's been a lot of empty outs. He leads the team in ground and in double plays. He's really just been sort of dreadful.
He has, and one of the reasons I thought about that is that I wouldn't mind Johnson being the first guy coming off the bench. I think maybe that's something that a little spark he could give. I know that he's got that passion issue, and so maybe with him not in the lineup, and it comes a time when you need a good bat off the bench, and obviously Chris Johnson wouldn't. It's not in the dictionary under good bat off the bench, but I think that maybe that's a spark. I don't know.
Yeah, Curtis, what would you add to this? Anything?
No, I mean, a lot of the same stuff. I mean, you got to get at the guys. Every single one of these games really, honestly, has to be approached as a playoff game. So, a guy that got brought up that we haven't seen much of, and I know that he struggled at the beginning of the year, but was really hot at the end of the year, is Turdoslavich. So I don't know if you can somehow work him into left field and see if you can get him some bats and maybe get, like when Stella first came up and was so hot for that first stretch when he got up here, that maybe you just could strike lightning in a bottle, even if it's for 10 games. I mean, you can move Hayward to center. You can move Justin to right field. You can put Turdoslavich over in left field, whatever it takes. But you got to BJ. We don't even need to say it again. He's got to be out of there. Gaddis, they did come out today and say, and I would even start thinking about at the end of these games putting Betancourt in there to be a defensive replacement for him. I mean, you just have to take these drastic approaches as if every game depends on, your season depends on every single game, because frankly, at this point, it does for the Braves.
Yeah, my only issue with Turdoslavich is it's a lot of, Justin is shaky enough in left. I don't want to put him in right. Defense has been a problem. And if we really make it to the playoffs, Bonifacio is going to be our starting center fielder, you would think. And I want to keep him warm. I want to keep him getting at bats and seeing pitching and not sitting him.
Yeah, well, and if he's going to be in the lineup, I know that he has kind of not been great as of recently, but he needs to be at the top of the lineup. I would move Hayward down to 2. We talked about multiple shows ago about not putting these lefties together, but at this point, who cares?
Although I guarantee you they're not moving Hayward out of the 1.
Yeah, I'm sure they're not either. But I mean, look at their offensive stats. We definitely did not get the bounce that we got from him before. 6-8 stretch they just went through. They hit 210. They scored 34 runs in 14 games. So
he's doing his part.
Yeah,
Hayward continues to hit.
Right, but we remember the offensive juggernaut that we became over those 22 games or whatever it was before his jaw got broken. We haven't really seen that from any other player, at least with any sort of consistency, since he's been moved into that spot. So, the problem is that you're limited. I mean, he was playing Domit for a couple of games. The bench is terrible. You can't put Pena anywhere because he's been terrible. It's, it's like these pieces that you have. You're no better off with them than you are with what's out there to begin with. So I think that's probably the catch-22 at this point for the Braves, is they are who they are, which at this point is a really awful offensive team.
It's definitely limited. It's definitely limited.
Right, which is why options. I think there's one other thing that Fredi should do. It's one other tool at his disposal, which is he should have a big berserk freak out in the clubhouse. He should, the next shutout, he should go in. He should, get like $20,000 in damage to some visitor's clubhouse, and just spaz out on the guys and see if that lights a fire. He's supposed to be this great clubhouse manager. We haven't seen it much, particularly with the leadership void this season, and it would be really shocking to all the guys for Fredi to flip out. And it is so beyond time.
It's not going to happen. It's out of character for him. I hear you, Steve. I mean,
which is why it could work.
I have no doubt that it could work. Right. I think they need a shakeup. or just it would be interesting. I just don't think I think we need a player to do that, and there's no player who has the gravitas to do that. Everybody's looking around, probably going, "Who's going to call this?" Or "Why do we need to do
Gerald,
this?"
when are you going to do it?
Yeah, but somebody needs to. Somebody needs to do it. I don't think Fredi will, but I think it's a great point. It's absolutely what's needed. They need to, shift gears, change their perspectives, wake up, whatever it is, if they're going to make the postseason. I don't know if it's possible. I don't know if it's in them or not.
So, and the one other thing I did want to add is a very, very short leash on Harang the rest of the season. David Hale's not stretched out, right? We're not just throwing David Hale into the starting rotation. There's a day off this week. So, in theory, they could, actually I haven't looked at the line. I mean, I'm sure that they could skip Harang. I kind of don't think they're going to, although it's been bad. His last 8 starts, his ERA is 5.4, and the opposing team's slash line is 321, 370, 466. He was always giving up a lot of hits, but he was getting out of it with double plays and whatnot, and that's not happening anymore. He's not controlling damage anymore. So I bet he'll start coming up this week, but he'll have a very short leash, or at least he should.
Yeah, agreed.
All right, guys, so let's look at what the Braves and the Brewers and the Pirates have left in September. So the Braves have 2 series left with the Nationals, one with the Rangers, one with the Mets, one with the Pirates, one with the Phillies. The Brewers have the Marlins, 2 with the Reds, one with the Cardinals, one with the Pirates, one with the Cubs. And then the Pirates, Phillies, Cubs, Red Sox, Brewers, Braves, Reds. So, Curtis, who do you think has the easiest schedule the rest of the way?
I think it's Pirates going away. You look at a lot of last place teams, a lot of really bad teams that are mixed in there. Obviously, those games with the Brewers are going to be huge for them. And frankly, the way the Braves are playing right now, you don't.
Easy.
Yeah, you don't feel like. I mean, I'm sorry. You don't feel like that's. We just lost. Lost 4 or 6 to the Phillies and the Marlins, and the Marlins threw some great pitchers at us, but we lost today to a guy who's a bum. I mean, we lost to Kendrick again, who we had been killing over the last couple of years. His last few starts, and it's just they're so uninspired. So the Pirates by far have the easiest, and then I go Brewers, and then I go to the Braves just because they can't beat anyone. I mean, you can't feel the pressure of the situation that you are in. And yes, I'm sure they're feeling pressure, but they don't look like they're into it. They don't look inspired in any way. They're flat. They are only a half game out of this thing. But you wouldn't get that impression from them at all. And maybe they're so tight that they're expressionless, but there's nothing that the Braves can take for granted. And as a fan, there's nothing that we can take for granted in any of these series with the Braves, because the Phillies came in here and took 2 of 3 in Atlanta. So and the Nats. I mean, tell me the Nats would not love to kill 2 birds with 1 stone by taking 4 of 6 from the Braves, burying the Braves, and in the meantime kind of burying this idea that they can't beat the Braves. So they're going to be firing on all cylinders.
There is no doubt that these 2 series set up for that narrative to change.
Yeah,
that the Braves.
I'm scared most of the Nats now.
Yeah, that we can't beat them, or that they can't beat us. We have Strasburg in Game 3 this week. I just get the feeling that Strasburg will dominate and sort of, take care, at least for the short term, that narrative. It just is set up in an ugly way. I totally agree, Curtis, that the Pirates have not only the easiest schedule, but are the best of the 3 teams right now, us, Brewers, and Pirates. I mean, that's unfortunate too, right? I mean, Phillies, forget it. Cubs, forget it. Red Sox, all 3 of those are fading or done. The Brewers, I mean,
fading.
Are okay, but fading. And then us. So, yeah.
And the Phillies, the Phillies are going to have extra motivation against the Braves. not that they're not motivated to win and be spoilers and everything else, but I mean, it's going to be amplified when it's against the Braves. It's not going to be amplified when it's against the Pirates. Same with the Mets. We've struggled with the Mets all season long. Their pitching is really good. Their starting pitching is really good. And so, we just saw what happened with the Phillies. So to have all these NL East games left for the Braves is just, it seems like the worst case scenario.
Ham, how do you see it?
Yeah, a lot like you guys do. My postseason hope meter took a huge hit this week. I think it's the Pirates to lose. We're having a stink off with Milwaukee. We would seriously have to back into the playoffs, and it would be embarrassing to make it at this point. It's a miracle we're even in this conversation. The way they have played. Is. I mean, it's just a miracle. It speaks more to the race than it does to the Braves. So yeah, I mean, I think I would pick the Pirates. I have a feeling we're not going to the postseason.
So Ham, 19 games remain for the Braves. What record do they go the rest of the way?
I think they go 8-11.
That's my number 2. Curtis?
That's what I was going to go to, so I'll go 7-12.
Okay. All right, and so let's we're talking around it. What is your postseason hope meter at this point, Kurt?
Amazingly, it's still like a 2 or 3. I mean, we've seen some stretches where the Braves and they have not ceased to be unimpressive and uninspiring, but they could certainly reel off 12 games here where they went 8-4. I mean, it doesn't feel like they can, but it's certainly there lurking somewhere. So I'll still give it like a 2 or 3, but it's shaky and another bad couple of games and it's a 0 and I'm done.
All right, Hammy.
Yeah, echo exactly what Curtis said. You could put any team in the Braves spot right now, with 2 other contenders shooting for the wild card, not the Braves, and I would give that team a 3. I think the Braves have just a shot as any because anything could happen in a 19-game stretch. I don't think it's because the Braves are playing very well right now. I don't think we should expect it, but I do think, it's baseball. Anything's possible.
Yeah, I'm a 2 simply because of the math, and we have some great starting pitching, but I don't really believe it either.
And what about if they make it?
No.
Do we make it past the 1-game playoff with the Giants? Is that your question?
Right.
Well, probably not. But
for me, that's a coin toss too.
Yeah.
Well, for me, I mean, I think that depending on how they match up, and we can beat the Giants, sure. We're not beating anybody in a long series.
I mean, you honestly can
I honestly don't think we win on the road in San Francisco. No, I don't.
Yeah.
I really don't. So, guys, why is BJ still starting? Like, what are your theories? Like, I have trouble explaining. I've been saying this on Twitter and on Facebook that, people ask. I'm like, I just don't have a good explanation. But, Kurt, why do you think he still is getting starts?
I'm as befuddled as anybody else is. I really have no idea. The only thing I can even have some remote grasp of is that they are begging and hoping and fingers and toes crossed that maybe he goes on some BJ equivalent hot streak, which means he bats 212 or something like that, and that the trade value that he has inches up 0.10000.1%. I mean, and that's the only thing I can think of is that they are hoping that there is some life that he will show, and that they'll be able to get 6 bags of balls instead of 5 bags of balls for him.
Which I get in June or July, but if that's really true, and it could be true, that's really like putting the cart before the horse, right? I mean, it's kind of tanking this season to do such things.
And I honestly I don't even really believe it. It's just the only thing that I can possibly think, because surely he doesn't think that the guy can provide anything.
Yeah, he's got a negative WAR. Why are you playing him? It's been 2 years. To me,
I mean, Costanza. I mean, the running joke that we have with you about Jose Costanza, I will take Jose Costanza 1,000 times more at this point than BJ Upton.
I would take
single game,
Gaddis
every
at bat. I would take Gaddis in center field and put Betancourt. I mean, the only thing is, so it's got to be one of two things, right? If you're Freddie, either you're looking long term and you're hoping that he's
going to be here for 3 more years. And
that he's going to that he's going to work his way out of this slump, and I got to think of the long term and steady Eddie Freddie, right? Steady Freddie. This is going to keep doing it and just hope he works his way out of it, which is idiotic.
He does continue to tweak his batting stance, by the way. I don't know if you guys noticed, and I tweeted a great article about a guy out of Augusta who wrote about it. That he opened his stance up a little. He's changing his stance. So he's still working on it, man.
Nice.
Don't give up on him.
I can't really look at his at-bats full on. So I wouldn't have noticed that. Or Freddie literally is looking, he says, I've got Hayward and Justin. Boom, boom. Those guys are out there. And he looks at the rest of his options. And in his calculations, BJ gives them the best chance to win.
But it's impossible, Hammy. It's impossible to look at that and say Bonifacio is not a better option than BJ.
Well, then but when nothing else makes sense, the only option left over must be it, right? I mean, I don't understand. I'm with you. I don't agree with his decision making, but what else could be going through his head? Like you guys said. Unless it's the naked picture thing. He got the naked pictures from Pete Orr, which weren't even of Freddie. They were Bobby.
All right, guys, a couple quick announcements. All of our new shows are available on our new YouTube channel, which you can find by going out to YouTube and searching Atlanta Baseball Talk. And when you're out there and you find us, subscribe to the channel. It's a great way to ensure that you don't miss any of our shows. We also have a new fan page on Facebook. So go out there and like us. It's at facebook.com/Atlanta Baseball Talk. All right, so guys, let's do a Guess the Stats for an ex-Braves edition.
Ooh.
So, I know. All right, so Hammy, Martin Prado's batting average and on-base percentage when he was with Arizona.
When he was with Arizona? It was really bad. I think I'm going to guess 220 and 275.
All right, Curtis?
I don't think it was that bad. I think it was like 245, 310.
Yeah, it was better than I thought it was, too. It was 270, 317.
Well,
wow.
But now Prado's batting average in his limited time, so he was like 100-plus games in Arizona. He's now 30 games with the Yankees. What's his batting average and on base there, Hammy?
I'm going to get schooled at this, and I know Kurt already went ahead and looked this up. I have no idea. I think it's better though. I'm going to say 315, 375.
Curtis?
I will go higher, 320, 400.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be a little better than what it was. It's 309, 333, but he's slugging like 100 points higher. He had 5 home runs and 17 doubles in his 100 games in Arizona. He had 5 home runs and 9 doubles in his 30 games with the Yankees.
Oh, wow. Good for him.
Yeah,
he's the anti Big Mac.
Well, speaking of, let's talk about Mac.
Is that a Whopper? Is that an anti-Big Mac?
Yes, exactly. I guess so. Yeah.
Curtis, what's McCann's home run total this year with the Yankees?
12.
Hammy.
That feels about right, but I'm going to go extreme. I'm going to say 9.
Oh, yeah. It was higher than I thought, too. 17.
Oh, wow.
But he's still slugging under 400. He's slugging 396 because he's not hitting any doubles. It's really been bad. All right, let's move on to Eric O'Flaherty. What is his ERA with Oakland this year, Hammy?
2.68.
Kurt?
2.34.
1.65.
Wow.
EOF.
There is a case of the money.
Yep.
There is the case of the money killing you that you couldn't re-sign. And granted, he's coming off the surgery and he got paid a lot of money.
Yep.
But man, could we have used Eric O'Flaherty out of the bullpen this year?
Real lefty, yeah. All right, Curtis, Hudson's ERA with the Giants this year.
I think he's kind of struggled a little recently, maybe. I don't know, but I think it's still pretty good. I'll say 345.
Hammy?
Yeah, I think I was around there too, but it wouldn't surprise. I think he struggled too. I'll go 370.
308.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
There's a case of the money.
Well, and that was silly money.
I know. I'm kidding.
Really
yes, there's no way they should have paid him that money.
But we really got nothing of all those guys leaving, and obviously Prado was more than a year ago, other than McCann.
I think we did get something back in that Prado deal.
Well, Prado, sure, we got.
Well, sure. But like this year, I mean, I'm sort of looking at this year of all of EOF and Hudson, a lot more talent. Production has left than came back, I would say.
Sure. All right, guys, time for Shot in the Dark, our prediction for the coming week. Let's check back on last week. So, Kurt, you predicted that the Braves would give up 10 runs.
Razor thin here.
But they would lose, but they would lose 4 of the next 5. So this was after the Monday Labor Day game.
Yes. And I meant they would give up 10 earned runs in the next 2 starts after I said that.
Right. They gave up 26.
Whoa.
Woohoo! Yes. And won 2 of 5. So they won 1 more game than you thought they were going to. So, all right. Hammy, you predicted Hayward would hit .333 with 3 runs scored and 3 RBI. He hit .285, 0 runs scored, and 2 RBI.
Speaks of our week.
Yes, and I predicted that Justin would have 3 hits total for the rest of the week, and he had 2.
Oh, wow. Stevie.
Yeah, how about that? So I declare myself the winner.
Yes, well deserved.
Yes, thank you. I lead 1-0 for the month of September. So let's check in on our listener-submitted shots in the dark for the past.
Wait a minute. Part of that should be.
Yeah, I know. It's a bit of a hollow victory.
Yeah.
So Chip Hooper from Facebook predicted the Braves would have 2 grand slams this week, one against the Phillies and one against the Marlins. I love the positivity. He meant at Denny's. That's right.
Yes, after their loss.
He was only 2 off. And the second from Smurfbait at on Twitter. I don't know if you can say that on a family show.
Yeah, that's actually me.
He predicted that Justin would hit 100 RBI by the week's end. He had 0, and he remains at 91. All right, so folks, we are asking for listener-submitted shots in the dark. We'll pick our favorite ones. We'll track them during the week and discuss them on the show. You can submit them by Twitter or Facebook. Use the hashtag ABTSITD. All right, so
I always like the listener ones to be as bad as the host ones. It makes me feel warm.
Yeah, exactly. There's tons of winners out there. We just never pick those.
And everyone, please make sure you get them in before first pitch on Monday. All right, so guys, what's your shot in the dark for this week, Curtis?
Well, I'm going anti what I did last week. The Braves still lose 4 games this week, but the starters give up 20 runs over the games.
Oh, my goodness. Hammy, how about you?
I think Gaddis is going to take advantage of the more playing time. 275, 2 homers.
All right, I've got Goslin will hit 2 homers this week. All right, guys, so let's look at this week ahead. 6 games, 3 at the Nationals, and then the very famous rivalry, Braves-Rangers. Very excited about that.
We call it the Teixeira duel.
Yeah, that's right. So let's look at the pitching matchup. So for the National Series, Minor goes up against Pfister, who's arguably been the Nationals' best starter this year, although he has struggled some lately. He has a 2.66 ERA. Santana goes up against Zimmerman and his 2.93 ERA, and then harangues Strasburg. And Strasburg has a 3.43 ERA. He's given up 1 earned in each of his last 2 starts. Our starters in Texas will be Wood, Tehran, Minor, which frankly you gotta like. No starters listed for Texas out on ESPN tonight because they're about to use their 100th different, starting pitcher this year, and they just haven't figured out who that's going to be yet. So Hammy, what do you think the Braves do this week?
I think it ends here with the Nationals, the whole Braves owning them. I think that, as we said, I think this is. It ends here. So I think we go 0-3 against the Nats, but I think we go 2-1 against the Rangers for a 2-4 week.
Curtis, how about you?
I was actually going to go 1-2, 1-2, but I'm now going 1-5. We get swept by the Nationals, and we win 1 game in Texas.
Yeah, I'll go 2-4. I think we'll go 1-2, 1-2.
It's not often that Kurt is actually more depressed after the show than heading into it. This show depressed Curtis, which is pretty depressing in itself.
And what do you got, Kurt?
Well, I was just going to talk about the Falcons, but I won't.
All right. We always have the Falcons.
But go Falcons. Yes. All right, and that's the show. Everyone, please make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel as well as on iTunes or Stitcher so that you don't miss any of our weekly shows. As always, check us out at AtlantaBaseballTalk.com for past shows, to check out our blogs, and to post in our comment section. And be sure to follow us on Twitter at ATL Baseball Talk and to like us on Facebook. Thanks again for listening, everyone, and go Braves!
Thanks for listening to Atlanta Baseball Talk, your weekly podcast for all things Atlanta Braves. To find new shows, to post in our forum, or to send a comment, please visit us at AtlantaBaseballTalk.com.
Had to admit the problem.